What's happening, guys? Happy Thursday. It's just after 9:30, and you're chilling with Johnny Gaz Live. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Thursday, everybody. I appreciate you joining us. We're live on Tuesdays and Thursdays, Facebook and YouTube at Johnny Gaz Sports. I appreciate you guys getting involved early and often. Make sure to hit that like button. Let's share it out. Let's get it out there early and often so we can get your friends and family involved. We're going to be talking heavy Detroit Lions here this evening. We have a special guest coming on the show tonight. We'll get into that here in just a little bit. We got the Red Wings going on as we speak. I want to keep you posted on the Wings as they wrap up in Ottawa. Right now, it is tied 1-1, about midway through the third period. I have it at 8:10. Again, it is tied 1-1. And guess what, guys? Guess what? We have our Olympians getting right back at it here as the hockey season reopens after the Olympic break. Both Brady Tkachuk and Captain Dylan Larkin on the score sheet this evening. And guess what? For the Red Wings, Dylan's goal is actually assisted by the other international stars, Lucas Raymond and Mo Seider. So the Olympic players getting right back at it for the Red Wings. You really love to see that, because the question was, can they ride that momentum and carry a team, with there being three players on this Red Wing squad that represented internationally? Well, they are kicking it off real quickly here as they jump back at it. 1-1 the Wings midway through the third period. I have it just under 7 minutes to go. I will keep you posted on that one as the Wings kick off the last half of their season after this Olympic break. Let me know in the chat, what do you guys think of the Red Wings? Can they make that push towards the playoffs? Can they actually make it happen this year? Or are we setting ourselves up for another letdown? Let me know in the chat. I would love to hear from you guys. Either way, it is an exciting kickoff back now with the NHL season, and I'm glad to have you guys with us on a day like today. Happy Thursday. That's right. Joe, what's happening? I appreciate you coming on. Mile Marker, how you doing? David, what's up, buddy? Big Trim, what up? Go. Good to see you, my man. Jay Ralph, what up? Brent's in the house. Love to see you, Brent DeWitt. You the man. Appreciate you, buddy. At Don't Know Grid is in the chat, but he's also hanging out with us today. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll get into that here very, very shortly. Neppinger, how you doing, buddy? Happy Thursday. That's right. Trim, appreciate you guys. Everybody for getting involved in the chat early. Thank you so much. Make sure to slap the like button, whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, whatever that may be. I appreciate you joining us. Let's get that like slapping going here early. Again, Red Wings 1-1 here, getting towards the late stages of the third period. Let's hope the Wings can pull this one out. I'll keep you posted as we progress through that one. Other thing I want to touch on before we get into our main topic of the day, the Pistons yesterday, kind of a rebound victory against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, a victory over a very undermanned Oklahoma City Thunder team. They were without the top scorers in that matchup at one point in that game. So obviously it's not a representation of what the Thunder will probably be as we get towards playoff time. Record-wise, they were still, I think, the best record in the league at the time they squared off with the Pistons. Now with this victory, the Pistons have taken over that, and they now hold the best record in the NBA. 124-116 at Little Caesars Arena yesterday. Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren leading the way with 29 points apiece. Both of them a double-double. And Cade Cunningham, everything of an MVP. And I'll tell you what, man, every time I watch him play, it just gets smoother. He's more in control. And he's able to carry this team in times where they're not getting scoring from other parties. Now, yesterday, kind of an exception with Jalen Duren holding his own, and that's the ideal situation right now for the Pistons. When you can get Cade and Jalen Duren firing on all cylinders, they're hard to beat. But you really can't count on JD, especially every single night. And when you need key shooting, JD's not going to be the guy to provide that. Obviously, he's your paint warrior. So the real question for the Pistons is, can they get enough shooting, three-point shooting in particular, when we get closer to playoff time, when the benches get a little bit smaller and they really have to have shots? If Cade Cunningham is being D'd up the way he was, let's say, against the Spurs, and you have to defer to other shooters, where is that going to come from consistently when we get to these playoffs? So that's the other question for you guys. The Pistons, the way they are currently constructed, are they set up to win a title? Can they win a title? We've just seen them play two of the top Western Conference teams. Yes, one of them was very much undermanned. Very much so undermanned. But the Pistons got the victory. It was sloppy at times yesterday against OKC, but again, I thought Cade Cunningham was an MVP and showed every part of that yesterday. 13 assists on the 29 points for Cade, so that's pretty incredible. He's playing just amazing basketball right now. Such a fun watch. This Pistons team in general is a great watch. Their defensive aggressiveness is fantastic. I mean, they guard the paint better than any team in basketball. I thought they held their own against the Spurs. I just think, unfortunately, they didn't shoot it well, and the Spurs shot the lights out. And that is going to happen every once in a while. What's up, C. Gaz? How you doing? Says Duncan was rough last night. Miss Ivy on the second unit over Karis LeVert. Yeah, I can't argue that. You know, when Karis LeVert can put up for us, again, that's where you kind of get your inconsistent secondary shooting, but he just doesn't show up every night. So, C. Gaz, I'm with you, man. 100%. Appreciate you getting in the chat, brother. Joe says, I think they could win a title, but it would be a lot more comfortable with another good shooter. That's really it, man. That's where I'm at with this, Joe. I think at the deadline, I kind of hope they would have added something a little more significant. Like I say all the time with the Lions, you know, and broken record. But, you know, is Kevin Huerter the answer? I don't think so. I mean, at least to this point, he's trying to find his way into the rotation. And unless you're going to come in and shoot the lights out, it's just there's not really a spot for you. So it's kind of a slow mix right now for him. Prim says they miss Beef Stew. Yeah, they definitely do. They miss his defensive, you know, the defensive side of the basketball. That would have really helped against the Spurs. Obviously, with Wemby being involved, you have to have all the big bodies you can, and Beef Stew's a huge part of that. Yeah, David, that was the thing. I mean, OKC, they were so undermanned. That wasn't a game where you can sit there and say, you know, the Pistons held their own against the Western Conference's best. It's just not the case, you know, because their players weren't there. But they got the win. It was a rebound win on a back-to-back against the Western Conference, and I think they had to have it. So I think the Pistons showed up. Their two players showed up when you had to get a victory. So I think that's the most important thing. So that's what I'm taking out of that one for sure. Well, let's jump over to our main topic of the day. Today is all about the Detroit Lions. We're going to spend a lot of time here with our Lions topic. And obviously you saw in the thumbnail and the title of today's live broadcast, the perfect offseason. And that sounds glorious, right? We all want the Lions to have that perfect offseason. I think ever since they had that magical run, since Dan Campbell took over, really, I would say, each offseason we've judged harsher and harsher, you know, because things have gotten better and better. This regime has reinvigorated Lions football. So the idea of a perfect offseason is almost a mirage. But part of what we're going to do today is kind of set up what this offseason could look like, what we would like it to look like, and what could be ideal for the Lions as we head towards the 2026 season. And I want to bring in an expert. I want to bring in somebody who has put in the time, put in the research, and I think can answer some key questions for us as we head deeper and deeper into this Lions offseason and into 2021. So let's kick it off right there with our main topic of the day. We had him on a few weeks ago. We had a lot of fun talking Lions, just going back and forth, and I appreciate that he wanted to come on the show again and spread his wealth of knowledge on the Detroit Lions and everything else. Matt, how you doing, buddy? At Don't Know Grit. I appreciate you coming on the show. How's everything going?
Fantastic. Really appreciate you having me back on. Always good to spend an evening with you.
I appreciate you, buddy. I really do. It was a lot of fun last time. It's easy when you have such a common bond with someone over the Detroit Lions. It makes this conversation a lot easier. But you mentioned you're down in Texas, correct?
I am, yes.
So I think for everybody, most of the folks watching with us, most of the folks are Northeast, mainly Midwest, and are suffering through a really tough winter. So give us a little bit of maybe what we could be enjoying down in Texas. Tell us what the weather's like down there right now.
I mean, I think tonight it's supposed to get down into the low 60s. So it's, you know, downright chilly.
It's balmy. You got the fire going in the background, you know.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Heat's turned on, you know, everyone's huddled around. It's great.
Now, you also mentioned that your wife is a hardcore Packers fan. Am I right?
Yes.
I know. I'm sorry to bring it up again. I just like it's hard. I couldn't even believe it the first time. So when you do all the research you do for the Lions and everything that you have to say and all your content that you come up, does she force you into also doing a little bit of Green Bay Packer research so she has a little leg up on what they're doing?
No. In fact, the reason that I started doing this is because she was sick of me talking to her about it. I would constantly talk, draft, upcoming season, changes, everything. She literally, one day I came home and she handed me a ring light and told me to make a TikTok so that I could talk to people who wanted to hear what I had to say.
Here, honey, I bought you all this podcasting equipment. I'm sure you could figure it out.
Basically, yeah.
I love that. That's great. Oh, man. Well, hey, listen, I appreciate you just giving me a little bit of time. And I now that the channel Johnny Gaz Sports has kind of expanded a little bit, I've reached out into Lions and Pistons and Tigers and all that good stuff. I've had a difficult time giving as much time into the Lions off season as I've liked to. And one of the people that I turn to make sure that I have the day-to-day news and updates and all the stuff that I need for what the Lions off season is going to look like is with you at Don't Know Grit through TikTok. And that's where I go mostly and see you, but I know you're across all of their socials. So why don't we start with that? We usually do it at the end, but I'd like to have you tell the folks that are watching, what are you working on now? What are you excited about? What can they find on your channels?
Well, the most exciting thing right now is that we are in the scouting combine. It really kicked off today. So we get to see people, how they test, actual measurements, start to fill out those mock drafts a little more. And I've been heavy into the mock draft. I'm kind of breaking down different prospects, specifically with how they pertain to the Lions. But I try to touch on some people that, maybe a dream scenario would fall to us. But that's going to be my focus largely in the offseason. I mean, we've got the coaching staff in place. We kind of understand the scheme. So now it's all about filling the unusually large number of holes that we have in this team right now.
Okay. That's a great segue into what we're doing today. I kind of want to look at the big picture first before we dive into specific players or free agents or draft, because I think the big question for me, going into this offseason, I feel like the Lions are right there. They've been right there since that NFC Championship game. They were a half a football away from really taking it to the promised land. And we know what happened. We don't need to go through that. But
I was there.
Oh, you were there? You were at the game?
I was at that game.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So let's stop right there. Where were you seated? How did that come about? What was that experience like? I got to know more.
It was one of my brothers, his brother-in-law actually, just hates the 49ers. So
don't we?
He offered to get tickets. And so I went with two of my brothers. We were seated by the south end zone, in the lower level. Nice. And it was great. I mean, surrounded by 49ers fans, but it was one of those things where, how many times have I gotten to see the Lions in the NFC Championship game? Zero up to that point. So, to be able to be there, and it was almost prophetic because we were surrounded by 49ers fans that were talking about leaving at halftime. We were like, the Lions are kind of rough in the third quarter. You may want to stick around and see how this plays out. And I didn't realize how right we were.
The south end zone, was that the end zone where at the end around for Jameson was scored, or was that where they? No,
that's the end zone where an interception bounced off of someone's face mask.
Kildor doink. You gotta love that. Yep. Oh, that's a memory I would really want to put out of my head. No pun intended, but that will live on in Lions infamy. If they can't finish the deal, that's one of those images that's just always going to live there.
Yeah.
Before we go any farther, Detroit Fan Man had asked about Terrion Arnold, and Detroit Fan Man, I'm going to save that towards the end of the live. We're going to get into that. And if Matt, if you want to touch on that, let's not do that now, but as we get into maybe some smaller discussions about particular position groups, we can discuss on that. But I didn't want to think we're going to skip over that because that is a big story today. I just want to make sure I gather enough true, accurate evidence of what's going on before I report that. So I'm with you, Detroit Fan Man. We'll get there. So I apologize, Matt. I just want to make sure we touch on that real quick.
Oh, for sure.
So going back to big picture. So since that moment, things in my mind have been right there. They are on the cusp of Super Bowl, and they really are, to me, a piece or two away. But every season, it seems like you seem to add more and more pieces that now we need to remix in. So let's talk about big picture. In your mind, is this a reload? Is this a retool? Or is this a situation where they have to go all in this offseason?
So I think it's a retool. But in order to do that, they're going to have to reload. I think that both the offense and the defense are going to look different this year. So, that doesn't necessarily mean they're not going all in. I know that's kind of a cop-out answer, but
no.
There were really 2 points last year where we saw the defense look passable, and that was very early in the season when we had all the players, and then very late in the season when it finally seemed like Kelvin Shepherd was making some changes. We saw that zone against the Bears. We saw him kind of figure things out. So that gives you hope for two reasons. One, if you have your guys, you think you can do it. But two, it showed that Kelvin Shepherd, is learning through his rookie year. But having your guys is still a big question mark for us. So we're going to have to lean more heavily on Kelvin Shepherd being able to retool.
One of the things that I heard Kelvin Shepherd speak on, and this kind of goes into Terrion Arnold a little bit, is he came out and said he needs to, I'm going to paraphrase, not exactly quote here, but he basically needs to shut his mouth and go play football. And I think what he meant, at least what I interpreted that, what he went on to say kind of was, it's one thing to talk about being a great football player, but it's another thing to go out there and just truly do it.
Right.
So I think the tools are there. And that's the question I want to bring at you. Is Kelvin Shepherd right? Is that assessment the right way to look at it? Do you think that motivates a player like Terrion Arnold? And does that kick off part of what the Lions need to do with their secondary this offseason? This offseason?
Yeah, I think a player like Terrion is very confidence driven. And as a cornerback, you almost have to be, right? Because, if you're taking the ball away from the receiver 50% of the time for a season, you're doing great. You're going to get completions thrown on you. You're going to get touchdowns thrown on you. The ability to go back up to the line of scrimmage the next play and think that you can stop the guy across from you is pivotal. The problem is Terrion hasn't shown that part of it.
Right.
He's spoken like he has the confidence. He's carried himself like he has the ability. We've seen glimpses, but he hasn't been consistent enough to really talk all that much.
I think you're right. That's kind of the problem with the era of social media we live in, and the players are given any platform that they want. Look, I can sit here, anybody gave us a mic and somehow we're able to do it. So
right, yeah.
Somehow people listen to us. So and sometimes their word carries so much more weight. And I think the problem is when you speak the way you do, you have to kind of back it up. So I think that's what you're getting at. And I think that's what Kelvin Shepherd's getting at. And he's lived it. You got a guy that's played it, lived the experience from big time football in college to the pros, and obviously with the current regime that he works with. So, coming from the right perspective, I hope that hits home for Terrion. So let's bounce over to free agency, because I think that's sort of the next thing that people want to get into is what happens with the Lions and free agency. And some Lions fans want them to go all in and make a huge splash. And obviously we always hear about Max Crosby and the big names over and over again. Some folks go back to what I think is the Brad Holmes strategy is, cultivate from within, build your guys, draft, develop, reward, and move forward. So my first question to you is, should the priority be retaining internal talent, the guys that they need to re-sign for free agents, or is this more about adding external pieces at this point?
I think that building on the foundation you have is how you're successful. The team was kind of built around the core players that are there right now, the guys coming up for those extensions, that 2022, 2023 draft, where they really killed the draft. And I don't think that you can build a solid team if you have players that you drafted, that you built around, that you have perform at the level of people like, Jack Campbell, Jahmyr Gibbs. And then when it comes time to pay them, you try to go bargain basement with it. I think that you have to build in one direction. And I think if you just focus on trying to bring in big names from the outside, you ruin the continuity for the entire team.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that doesn't mean they don't need help from the outside, but I think that in this scenario, they've got to take care of that core first and then look to add pieces.
Yeah, I like that. Before we skip over, well, I gotta say this: Larkin just scored the game-winning goal in overtime. I can't.
Nice.
And again, I'm sorry to interrupt us, man. But like, if it was any other player, I would not have even interjected here. But I cannot believe that the momentum is carrying over like it did. That's incredible. And Ottawa's not a pushover, and they had Brady Tkachuk on that team, so they also could have had the same momentum. What a great day for the Wings. So, John Herman, thank you for breaking that news for us. Appreciate you, buddy. And again, great analysis from you, of course, Matt. Let's jump back into the free agency discussion. So we know, based on what I'm hearing from you, and I think that's where they're going, is it's not about a big splash. It's not necessarily about adding a lot of external pieces, but finding the right piece in the right place. So is there a free agent, or is there a position group that you say the Lions should address or must address before the draft?
Offensive line.
Okay.
Specifically the interior offensive line. And this isn't a knock on, the young talent there. But I think we saw last year what happens if you don't have the right veteran presence in the middle. And again, no knock on Graham. He's been a warrior for a long time. Really has done everything that's been asked of him.
Yeah.
But he was out of his element last season, and there's absolutely no reason to believe that he would be in his element at center this year. That can't be plan A. I don't even think that Graham can be plan B. And so I think getting a center, or if you really believe in Tate, a guard that's seen it all before, that can be the veteran presence and kind of guide the young players around him, I think that's critical going into this draft, to already have that pinned down.
There was a story that came out today talking about Tate Ratledge and the Lions still being open to shifting him from guard to center. And I guess what I would ask you is, do you think that is a true reality? Do you think that is going to be based on maybe who they're able to bring in, like what's available to them, depending on free agency in the draft? Are they really open to shifting Ratledge, or is it in their best interest to try and find the center long-term and keep Tate at guard?
So I think it's a real possibility. They drafted him last year saying that they thought he was going to be their center of the future. And I see no reason that you can't go into camp with the intention of testing to see if he can do that, just like they did last year. And, they've come out and said that it wasn't that he was bad at it. Graham was just better. Good. That's what we want to happen in camp. Early on in camp, you want to say, okay, sure, you can back us up here in a pinch, but you're not good enough to do it. And having a camp battle, in my opinion, is never a bad thing. So if you go in with the intention of testing Tate to see if he can make that move now, good. But you need to find out early on whether that's going to be the direction you're going, or it's another direction, and you have to already have that plan B ready to go.
Yeah, I'm with you. Is there a free agent? Is there one guy then that you have your eye on that the Lions should go after hard this offseason?
So, given that the Lions don't like spending a lot of money on free agents, the guy that I've kind of looked at for the interior offensive line is actually Austin Schlottman. He was the Giants' backup center this year, and actually played like 370 snaps at center for them in the back half of the season. Allowed 0 sacks, 3 pressures. He's 30 years old, 8 years in the league, has experience at both guard and center. So you can go into camp and say, hey, we're going to put you at guard and Tate at center. If it doesn't go well, you can swap those two. He gives you a few options, and really he's probably only going to cost you $3 million for 1 year.
Okay. I like that you put a name to it. I mean, that's number one. And I want to give you a lot of credit, and people should know this. I mean, before we ever get into talking about doing a live together, you voluntarily had offered some information to me, and I cannot believe the research that you do before any of these things take place. So when I say that to you guys, I say that because Matt comes at it from a place of true research and true love and knowledge of the Lions. So when he gives you these names, I honestly trust it. And I'm very victim of falling in love with the big names. So like Austin Schlottman was not even on my radar until you had kind of brought this to the light. So I give you a lot of credit for doing that sort of research. So I'm with you on that one. I think that would be a solid move. Let's keep moving forward. I mean, I think if it's not Schlappman in that position group, is there anybody else out there that sort of tickles your fancy, or guys that the Lions should maybe even target or talk to?
So I think that someone that they should at least do their due diligence and talk to is actually Arden Key from the Titans.
Defense.
He's big edge, kind of in the same vein as you had in Davenport size-wise. Again, great run defender. Iffy on the pass rush, I think 5 sacks last year. But if the Lions are going to stick with this slow pass rush plan, the crush the can, he fits the bill perfectly. He may be on the higher end. We may be looking at between 7 and 10 million, but he's been playing for Tennessee, so he may be willing to take a little bit of a discount to come to a team and try to win. So that's kind of the guy that stood out to me as he fits what the Lions do.
I like that. Okay, guys, if you haven't already, make sure to slap that like button. All this good Detroit Lions knowledge here for you all for free. And hitting that like button is the price of $0.00. There's not a better deal on the internet today. So take advantage of that for me if you can. Also share this stream out so we can get your friends, family, and everybody involved and talk more Detroit Lions football. I appreciate it. And
well worth the investment to hit that like button. Well worth it.
It is. It's a quality click. You know what I mean? There aren't many quality clicks out there anymore, but that I can promise you is one of them. Matt, I want to make sure that people get to go and see you. So there's a few things I want to throw up on the screen here. If you hit that QR code, that will take you to Don't Know Grit's YouTube page. Make sure to go and subscribe to him there. Great knowledge and information here through YouTube, just like Johnny Gaz Sports. I will leave that up on the screen here for a little while as we move through our good questions. I want to kind of get into the draft a little bit more, pick your brain here on what could potentially happen for the Lions. And let's put this ideal world together where the Lions then do address their offensive line concerns through free agency. And I know that can look a lot of different ways. But if that plays out ideally the way you'd like to see it, then let's move towards the draft. We know the current slot of draft picks the Lions have. Right now, they don't have a third-round pick, but some maneuvering could happen and things could shape up to where that mixes things up. But let's stay with what the Lions have currently. Let's stick in the first round, pick 17. In your ideal world, Matt, what should the Lions do with their first round pick?
So in the ideal world, I think that they don't let the fact that Taylor Decker seems like he's coming back sway them at all. They stay with offensive tackle. And my favorite one in this draft is Monroe Freeling out of Georgia. He's only 21 years old, but he's 6'7", 315 pounds. Can definitely, his frame can hold more weight. I mean, 6'7". He's a phenomenal pass blocker, quick feet. His run blocking is a little lackluster, but it's not for lack of effort or lack of grit. He's got kind of a mean streak to him when he engages, but he's just not very big right now. He kind of can't back up his own desire. So with another, 10 pounds on him, which he would get in a year behind Taylor Decker, I genuinely think that he could step into that left tackle role in a year and then even improve on what Taylor Decker gives us. Monroe Freeling now as a 21-year-old, in my opinion, is already better than Giovanni Manu's ceiling could be.
Oh, I like that. And I love the idea of sticking with the offensive line, continuing your strength to be a strength. I mean, to me, that was what this thing was built on when Penei Sewell was drafted. But let me ask you this, because the name, again, I always get bothered by, mirage by the names out there. The tackle that we're supposed to draft, right, is Caden Proctor. So tell me why you take Monroe Freeling over Caden Proctor if both were available to the Lions.
So Caden Proctor is a massive human being and an absolute freak of an athlete. 815 pound squat, 535 pound bench press. I mean, wow. He's a mammoth human being.
Yeah.
And an impressive athlete for his size. But when you start watching his tape, you kind of see that he doesn't have full control over his own size. There are a lot of plays where he ends up on the ground, and it's not because he got beat or he got, blocked down or pushed down by a pass rusher. He's out in front of his own skis, so to speak. His upper body moves too far for his feet to keep up. And that kind of worries me because he is older. This is, him after a few years in college at high level. And given the way that he doesn't control his own weight very well, I actually think that he projects better as a guard in the NFL than he does a tackle.
That's what I was hearing too, is that maybe he starts as a guard and then works his way into the tackle position. And that would be the only reason for the Lions where maybe it could benefit them. I'm not saying they should take Proctor. I like where you're at with it, with your assessment, but would Proctor give them more versatility, immediately versus Freeling? But again, if you're saying that Freeling's the better prospect, then I'm with you. I'd rather take the surefire and square things up, I guess. And I didn't ask you this directly. Going back to that tackle, then, are you okay with Decker? I mean, we know he's returning. I put out a short and kind of get mixed reviews on this because some people love it because he's a veteran and he's a former Pro Bowler and he's been with the organization forever. But on the other side, he's often injured. He hasn't really given us a full season and will even make it a full 17 games again this year. Do you like that he's coming back? And does that change then how you looked at the first round?
I do like that he's coming back because I believe that Taylor Decker is our best bet at left tackle this season.
Okay.
And actually it made me like this first round even more because my concern about not just Monroe Freeling, but even Caleb Lomu and Caden Proctor, they weren't going to be ready to play left tackle this year. None of them were. And so the fact that Taylor Decker said that, hashtag year 11 actually made me more confident that left tackle was the way to draft. And I know that, using a first round pick for a guy that doesn't play is never the most sexy thing to do. But I think that if you can have a guy who has done it before, who will hold it down in Taylor Decker, and then have a guy that can carry on that position, right after he walks away with one of these tackles, if you give them a year, your edges could both be set for the next 5 to 10 years.
I'm with you. I like it. Well, let's move forward in the draft. Let's skip then to round 2. Let's say they get the tackle of your choosing and Freeling is the guy. So then things are set up for the Lions in round 2. In my mind, they got to go defense, but what would you say, Matt? What happens with the second round pick for the Lions in this case?
I like Gabe Akis, the edge defender out of Illinois.
Okay.
Height-wise, a little bit smaller than the Lions usually go after on the edge, at only 6'3", but at 6'3", he's 270 pounds of solid muscle. The guy has a great first step, great gap integrity, and ridiculous power in his hands and legs. He comes off the ball with intent. The only problem with him, and given what we've had on the edge this year, it's not really a problem, is that he gets kind of lost in space. If you ask him to drop back, he doesn't look great, but we saw Aiden Hutchinson not look great in space when we decided to drop him back on every third down in the beginning of the season. So he's really more of a true pass rusher than I think we've seen, kind of in the same veins as AQM. But he gives you a little bit more power than we've seen over there. Think, Marcus Davenport style without the constant injury.
Yes. Like that. And I would take that. I think that's what the Lions wanted with Davenport. So if you can get that out of him, I love that. Going back to round 1 and 2, looking at the total, is there an ideal world where Brad Holmes trades back, maybe more so with that first round pick than the second round pick to kind of gain more picks for this draft? Or would you prefer they go with what you've just laid out for us here?
No, if you can move back from 17, please do.
Okay.
In my perfect world, they move back, preferably in the 23 to 25 range. That should be far enough back to net you that third round pick. And I'm not so sure Monroe Freeling still isn't there, but I feel like if you're looking at Caden Proctor, Monroe Freeling, and Caleb Lomu, one of those 3 will be there in the low 20s if you still want to go tackle. But yes, by all means, please get a third round pick out of this draft.
Okay. Yeah, I'm more so leaning there now than anything else. I don't like the idea that they don't have a third round pick. And if they're not going to go make the splash or go get go shore up the offensive line. I mean, time will tell with this, but to me, then you have to go get as many picks as you can. Yes. That's where I'm coming from. So let's say then if the Lions, I mean, right now they don't have a third round pick, and we'll just set this up to where you've laid it out for us. They shore up the free agency market with their offensive line, and then they go draft a tackle to then be your successor to Decker, and they go get you the edge that you just laid out. So then what happens with the fourth round pick? Do you have any guys or a set of guys then that you'd be happy if the Lions went and plucked out in the fourth round?
So in the fourth round I have them slotted to pick probably one of my favorite prospects in this draft period. And that's Bud Clark out of TCU. Tall, rangy safety, 6'2", 190 pounds, so a little light, probably needs to add a few, but this is a guy who plays the game not unlike Kirby Joseph. 11 career interceptions, 18 career forced turnovers. So he has the punch, he's got the interception, fantastic route recognition, good closing speed, kind of baits quarterbacks into throwing against him, a lot like Kirby.
Mm-hmm.
The only real knocks on him are that because of those instincts, sometimes he trusts himself a little too much, has a tendency to try to jump routes and fall for double moves. And given his smaller size, he's not a physical tackler. He's kind of a guy that likes to go for the legs. He's not a wrap up and drive through people. Again, not unlike Kirby.
Well, I like where you're going with that, because to me, one of the things I talked about recently on the Johnny Gaz Sports live show was the fact that they may be without Kirby for a long, long time. And there's even a potential world where he doesn't come back and play football again. I didn't take the picture of him in the acupuncture with his knee, and like that didn't look good to me. That didn't feel good to me. Like that's recovery road. That seems like we're just trying things now. And if he's not available, and we know Branch will be out for a significant period of time, but I don't have a doubt that he'll come back, when he's ready. But for the Joseph thing, I think they're going to be hurting for safety. So with Bud Clark to go that direction, I think you're in a good light. Is there any other player or any set of players, anybody else besides Bud Clark that you'd want to hit on that potentially could be a late round pickup for the Lions?
In the later rounds, I have my fifth round kind of crush is Tanner Koziel, tight end out of Houston.
Ooh, like that. Okay.
I love his game. 6'7", 250 pounds. Great in the red zone, great at blocking just because of his size. But the thing that really sticks out for me is he had a contested catch percentage of 74.1.
Wow.
Basically 3 out of every 4 balls that were just tossed up, he came down with. He's a natural hands catcher. The ball doesn't get into his body, and he uses his immense size to just take advantage of the fact that linebackers and DBs can't get as high as he can.
Again, I like where you're going with a tight end. Another story today that I was shocked about was somebody had proposed a trade where Sam Laporta was involved in it because of his injuries, because the Lions have to consider what would probably be a market-setting contract for a tight end for Laporta here at some point. And I'm saying all this because I want to ask you this question. There's 3 players that come to mind when I think about future contracts: Laporta, Gibbs, and Jack Campbell. So I want to throw this at you kind of, if out of those 3 players, you can only take 2 of the 3 with you in the future with the Lions, who are the 2 of those 3?
Gibbs and Jack Campbell.
Okay.
Without even any hesitation. And I think that they're both in line to become the highest paid at their position. But I think the offense runs through Gibbs. The defense, we know, runs through Campbell, especially with Shepard as our defensive coordinator. He was a linebacker, and we saw a huge shift this season in everything running through the linebackers instead of funneling through the safeties, which we had seen with Aaron Glenn at the helm. So those 2 are really the foundation of everything we do. And I think we kind of felt this year that Laporta was more important than maybe we gave him credit for. But I think part of that is the Lions were just unprepared to deal with it without Laporta. Laporta is a top tight end in this league, but out of those 3, I think he's the most replaceable.
Do they rush to get those contracts done? There was talk that they might do both of those this offseason. Do you think that's necessary, and should they do that?
I think it's a good idea. With Gibbs, I think one of the things that you have putting a little bit of extra pressure on you is you want to sign him before the Falcons sign Bijan.
Fair.
You don't want to react to the market that gets set by them. You want to set the market and then, work that 5th-year option in to the extension, because that's a fully guaranteed contract. So that cap hit is huge. With Campbell, I think you want to do the same thing, though the pressure might not be as much. But I think that with the league starting to trend more and more towards these premier running backs, you're only going to have the cost go up. And linebackers were already seeing the same thing. And it's not like you're going to get somebody who can perform at a higher level than Jack Campbell. He's an all-pro now. Talked about being one of the best in the league. And so he's likely going to become the highest paid linebacker in the league. But that payday is going to be more if you wait another year and a bunch more linebackers get signed and the salary cap goes up. So I think that it behooves the Lions to try to be the ones again, like they were with, Panay, to set that market and let every other team have to beat their value.
Yeah, that's one way to go. That's been the Lions' philosophy, it seems like. So the writing seems to be on the wall, and I would venture to guess that that's probably what we'll see and hear about very soon in both of those cases. I'm really curious what happens with Laporta. Back injury, to me, plays a huge part in what you mentioned is kind of the turn of the look at Sam Laporta, because 2 off seasons ago, I made a long form video back when I was doing that. And the title of the video is that Sam Laporta was the most important player to the Lions offense. So it just supports exactly what you just said, is like the view of what Sam Laporta was. And now at this point, what I think the Lions could do and now have to shift things. They can't sign everybody. And that might just be one of those sacrifices. So I'm with you there. So let's wrap up our discussion. I think 2 big picture questions for you. And I know I don't love to get into bold takes or hot takes, but if there is one bold prediction from you, Matt, this offseason, is there anything you could point to that might surprise Lions fans out there?
I think it's twofold. One, I think the Lions will be more active in free agency than we've seen them in the past. Especially listening to, Brad and speak at the combine. I think that one of the biggest challenges facing them this year is, can this regime adapt to where they are now and not where they were? They're not trying to build something from nothing. They're trying to make better something they've already built. So I think they will be more active in free agency, but at the same time, I don't expect them to rework the contracts that everyone is showing out there. I think that they free up maybe 40 to 60 million and then just work to that for the rest of the offseason.
Okay. And then big picture question for you. Will the roster be better, worse, or the same entering week 1 as we sit here today?
So on paper, I think it'll be worse. Going into week 1, compared to week 1 last year, you're not going to have either of your previously all-pro safeties. You're going to have CB1 coming off of a season where he performed pretty poorly after his hamstring injury. We have no idea how long that's lingering or how he feels. Terrion coming back from a season-ending injury. Rakestraw coming back from a season-ending injury. Again, we won't, in all likelihood, have Anzalone at the will linebacker. Derek Barnes isn't as good of a coverage linebacker as he is, so we'll be worse there. We won't have DJ Reader in the middle of that defensive line. And while I imagine Tyleek will be better and I have confidence in his ability to grow, he's not as good as DJ Reader. So on paper, I think that if you're just looking at the roster, you'll say, wow, this team has regressed. Now, I'm not predicting that. I'm just saying, looking at the roster and comparing it to week 1 year over year, it's going to look worse.
So, because I'm with you, and I think that's why I even asked that question, because I had looked at the position groups year over year from that NFC Championship game to now, and my argument was that we're worse in just about every single position group on paper. So then tell us, Matt, what is it then that's going to make the difference? Then what is it that's going to swing this from what was 15-2, 9-8 last year to a more positive result this year, a playoff, and maybe a Super Bowl run? What is that thing that makes that happen?
I think it will be twofold. One, it'll be the pieces that they're adding. But the bigger thing I think will be this coaching staff. One of the things that I like the most about the offensive coaches that we brought in Petzing and Kafka is that you have two guys who have done it before, right? They're not going to get run over by Dan Campbell in the meeting room, in the game plan room. They're going to have very strong opinions. They're going to be able to stand up for the way they want to play. And I think that's part of the big reason that Dan brought them in, because we saw what happens when he goes with a comfort pick and a guy that he could bowl over, which he did in week 8 last year. Additionally, the same thing I think is going to happen on defense. I think that they went into last season thinking that Dan was going to be able to spend a lot of time with Shepard, that he was going to be able to kind of boost him up through the season because he was a rookie defensive coordinator. He didn't get to do that because of how poorly the offense was performing. He had to completely switch gears, and I think that mostly that hurt Shepard. And towards the end of the season, we saw him kind of gaining his footing, like I mentioned. But this season, with Dan bringing in those offensive minds, Dan can go back to doing what I think he does best, and that's be the CEO, the guy behind the scenes just directing and helping where he can instead of trying to control. I think that will be the difference this year.
I love it. I think you hit it perfectly. I think that is what makes the difference. That's what I thought was proven with the two teams in the Super Bowl this year, is that you can take a roster of what might not be the most talent in the league and you could still make this happen. Obviously, the right pieces have to be in place and you have to have a little bit of luck and some other things have to play out. But I think you're exactly correct. The coaching is what's going to make the difference. And to your point, Dan Campbell, during his press conferences, I think one of the first things he said was, I've spent a lot of time with the defensive staff this offseason because they've been together now. Like, that was the staff we actually had hired and we're working together. And I now was able to dive into that. I think he's kind of making up for that lost time that you just mentioned. And I would expect to see a marked improvement in the defense very quickly this season. It doesn't mean it changes overnight or that all of a sudden they're the Seattle Seahawks, but I think with some of the players coming back, hopefully you're going to, hopefully draft well. Everything you laid out for us here in free agency and the draft could set them up to where this coaching staff can make some things happen. So I don't think either one of us said the roster thing with a negative side to this. It's more of just the reality based to what's there.
Right.
But the truth of the situation is I think the coaches can take this to the next level. And I don't want to speak for you, but it sounds like you agree.
Completely. Yes.
Well, I appreciate it, Matt. This has been a fantastic discussion. I appreciate your wealth of knowledge, everything you bring to the channel, and the fact that you even want to come on and have a conversation with a goofy guy in upstate New York, all the way down in Texas where it's nice and warm. I appreciate you, buddy.
You don't give yourself enough credit. The fact that you're using your growing platform to lift other voices in the One Pride Nation doesn't get the recognition that I think it should. So I appreciate you.
Well, thank you, buddy. And thank you for the time on this. Before we let you go, make sure to tell everybody, where can they find you? Where do you put out your fantastic content? What socials are you on? Where do we go see your face every day?
I don't know why you would want to see my face, but I am on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, if anyone's ever been on Threads.
Nice.
I'm there across the board as Don't Know Grit.
I love it. Again, thank you so much for your time, Matt. I'm sure we'll get together very, very soon. Thank you so much, buddy.
Appreciate you. Anytime.
Later, man. Good guy, Matt. I appreciate you. I really do. It's a really good time every time we get together. We've only done it a few, but it just seems to go better each time. And the turnout here on the live really speaks for itself. So I owe a lot of that to you. And again, the wealth of knowledge that you bring is really second to none. I know it sounds funny because, to sit there and say, you sent me a bunch of research that you did. It seems kind of nerdy or whatever from our side, but like, that's the kind of thing it takes if you really want to speak like you know what you're talking about, and to rely on folks every day for Lions content. You want to ensure that you're working with people and you're going to watch channels that have put in the time and the effort, and you do that more than anybody I've ever seen. So you deserve a lot of credit. So guys, definitely go check out @Don'tKnowGrit across all the socials he just laid out for you there. And throughout the rest of the show, I will be putting up the QR codes. So make sure that you scan those with your phone. The one I'm going to put up right there will take you to Matt's TikTok. That's where I found him initially. And Johnny Gaz is over there as well. So hit that QR code up and go subscribe to Matt. He'll spread his knowledge with you every single day. So yeah, we got to hit back on the Red Wings. That's a big victory for them coming out of the Olympic break. 2-1 over the Ottawa Senators in overtime. Dylan Larkin, the hero, 2 goals on the day. The overtime goal leading the way for the Red Wings. Red Wings now at 34-19-6. And definitely come back and check out the channel. We'll have plenty of Detroit Red Wings content over the next couple of weeks as we gear up towards a playoff push. So that should be a lot of fun. We got a few other topics I want to hit on today. Our discussion with Matt went so well. We went a little overtime, but I love that. That honestly means we did a good thing today. So I'm happy. Definitely happy with that. Get a swig. Cheers, guys. And honestly, everybody that's watching, I appreciate you. The live watch has been the best it's ever been with Johnny Gaz Sports. Make sure to slap the like button. Share the stream out. We got plenty more topics today. Before we wrap it up, say hello in the chat if you haven't already. Let's get you guys back up on the screen here. There we go. What's up, Millicent? How you doing? Yeah, we just had a fantastic discussion with that Don't Know Grit. I appreciate you coming along, though, Millicent. As always, you know what you get when you come to a live session. The gong. You always get the gong, Millicent. I appreciate you hanging around. Thank you so much. I'm feeling a lot better today. And I had to get geared up today, obviously, for our discussion with Matt. So I had a little energy going for that today as well. But I was really under the weather on Tuesday. The people that hung in with me on the live, I appreciate it so much. I was so off my game. I had a bunch of great topics, and I was so fired up to get into it, but I just couldn't build up the energy to give you guys a show that you require. So I appreciate everybody that hung around on Tuesday and for coming back today to hang out with me and Matt. That was a lot of fun. So I was asked about Terrion Arnold, and I want to pull up the story here so that I don't misquote anything. Because this was initially released almost a week ago. The story had popped up, but then was sort of dismissed. I'm going to pull this from mlive.com. I think this is a good resource for Michigan news sports content. Lions cornerback named in Florida court order tied to an armed robbery. And I'm just going to read this word for word, guys. Again, I don't want to misquote anything or give you bad information. It says Terrion Arnold's name has appeared in a Florida court order concerning a planned armed robbery and kidnapping that took place earlier this month, as reported by the Detroit News and Fox 13 News in Tampa. The Detroit Lions cornerback has not been charged or arrested in relation to the allegations. The order says that 3 people were allegedly lured to a Tampa apartment just after midnight on February 4th, a few days after burglaries were reported at Arnold's rental property. In the report, prosecutors call an incident a retaliatory ambush where the 3 alleged victims were held at gunpoint, assaulted, and robbed for about 2 hours. Court's records show Arnold has not been charged in connection with the February 4th incident, but documents detail his possible involvement in the matter with connections to those involved with the alleged retaliation. So unfortunately, it sounds like because of some burglaries done to Terrion Arnold's residence, that he may or allegedly is involved in the retaliation efforts in this case. And I won't take this too much farther, but it's just unfortunate that Terrion Arnold is tied to this. And obviously the connection with his personal involvement will, this isn't something that's just going to go away. So I will keep you posted on the channel as they release more and more information and what his true involvement in this will be. Because a lot of this is speculation at this point, and I don't want to assume anything. Obviously, I want the best for the Lions organization. I want the best for Terrion Arnold. But if he is getting himself into trouble, it is what it is. But again, that's all speculation at this point, and I will keep you posted as news breaks on this more and more. I appreciate Detroit Fan Man for bringing that to the chat earlier. So I will, again, keep you posted on that one. That is very, very unfortunate news. Let me fix this. There we go. Yeah, that's unfortunate. It was weird to see that flash. I had NBC Sports had reported this last week. Mike Florio had come out with this, I saw. And the problem is anytime Mike Florio reports anything, I feel like he has sort of a Lions bias. So I didn't take it seriously when he said it in the first place. But I think there was now there seems to be some weight to that. So again, I won't go too far with it. What's weird is I actually had some content planned today to talk about Terrion Arnold taking the next step and what that could entail. But I think we're going to put that on hold until we get more word on what this actually is. So yeah, Red Wings 2-1 in overtime over Ottawa. Great start for Dylan Larkin and the crew. Mo Sider, Lucas Raymond with assists as well. So the whole Olympic crew getting back at it for the Red Wings as they kick off their playoff push. I'm really excited for that. That was a good victory for them. That wrapped up just as we kicked off our live today. The other thing I want to touch on is the Tigers start to spring training. We'll go real quick through that. And I'm not going to dive too deep because there's only so much to pull out of the first couple of weeks of Grapefruit League. But as of right now, where we stand, the Tigers don't have a victory in Grapefruit League play. And they've really been beat up in a lot of these games. So the question to you guys in chat, if you are at all involved in Tiger spring training, if you've been watching it, been following what's been happening, are you concerned with that at all? Does that mean anything? And what is it that the Tigers need to do as they get closer to the regular season, the start of the April kickoff? What needs to happen for this Tigers team for you to have the ultimate confidence that they can win a championship this year? I think that they've set up their pitching staff accordingly, and I'm very confident in their 1 through 5. But the truth is, do they have enough bats? Are they too reliant on the home run ball? What needs to happen for this Tigers team to ultimately be in true title contention? That's a good question. Why can't the Wings still not win in regulation? I mean, that would be easier, a little less stressful. A power live, Johnny. Thanks, Jeff. I'm slowly starting to lose my voice. It's going fast and furious. I got as much out of it as I could with Matt. I'm so appreciative that we did that because 5 more minutes, I think it would have been gone. Wings need a blue liner, says Trim. You might be right. That's kind of the talk I'm hearing, is that they may be on the market for one more defender. They could use one more forward too, to be honest with you, but I think a defender would really kind of set them up for success. But yeah, Tigers going deep, and that's kind of what we're going to finish the day with here. Who is in the best position to be the Tigers' best hitter in 2026? Who's the guy? Who's going to be the man? Are we looking for one of the young guys? We're going back to one of the veterans that we have in this team. Is it Riley Green? Spencer Torkelson? Does Javi Baez have another miracle season under his belt? Is Kevin McGonigal going to make his name somehow this year? Prospect coming through for the Tigers. Can he make any noise? I mean, so there's a lot of things, a lot of questions here. Who's going to be the guy for the Tigers in 2026? We got to see Tariq Skubal actually pitch briefly. His stuff looked electric already. He was brief, but he got in, got out, did his thing. Jack Flaherty showing slight uptick in velocity this spring, so that's good to see. Kind of had a down year last year, so Jack Flaherty sort of bouncing back for the Tigers, I think would really mean everything. You know, the Justin Verlander thing is what it is, but I think they really are more reliant on a guy like Jack Flaherty. He's got to put in true innings for the Tigers this year, so I think he is a big part of this. A lot of the other pitchers right now are shaking off the rust, so I don't put a lot of emphasis into the Grapefruit League, especially early on. I just think it's too harsh to judge a baseball team in spring training, especially when you're playing the Yankees to kick off the spring training year. The Yankees bring anybody and everybody to their spring training roster, and it looked like in game 1 they just kind of let their big dogs eat a little bit, which is a little abnormal. So I don't put a lot of emphasis into that necessarily. See you, Neppinger. I appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for hanging around the chat. Appreciate that very much. But I'm excited. I think that's why I even talk Tiger baseball. It's still early, and as we get a little closer to April, we'll ramp up the talk here on Johnny Gaz Sports as things start to become more of a reality. The lineup starts to set itself. We'll see what, we know who the top 2 pitchers will be, but then what kind of falls in line past that. So that'll be interesting. Kind of see what happens with the Tigers. I will keep you posted. Pistons are rolling on Friday tomorrow. Again, they play at home. Actually, I think that's a nationally televised game. I'm actually going to get to watch that one again. I love when we get those games. Now, Pistons will take on Cleveland tomorrow at 7 p.m. That's right. They're playing the Cavaliers tomorrow at home. Another good team the Pistons will face in this tough stretch of games. Another kind of prove itself, but this time on the Eastern Conference side. Pistons will still be without Beef Stew, but again, a nice Friday primetime matchup. We'll be diving into that with content as well. And the Red Wings are rolling. We just had a huge discussion about the perfect offseason with the Detroit Lions with Matt at Don't Know Grit. That was so much fun. Appreciate everybody that was involved in the chat today. If you haven't already, make sure to slap the like button. Again, it's the best free way to help out the stream. Appreciate everybody that has gotten involved already. We're going to end it right there as my voice sort of trickles out the door and fades away. Again, thanks to everybody. More than anything, take care of yourself. Take care of that mental health. It's so important. I want to make sure you guys come back and see me on future lives. Be good to yourself. Be good to the ones around you. Hug your friends and family. Be well. I will see you guys next week. We'll be live again on Tuesday and Thursday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, Facebook and YouTube. Make sure to come check us out at Johnny Gaz Sports on any social network. If you search for at Johnny Gaz Sports, you will find daily, concise, and reliable Detroit sports content. Again, make sure to go check out at Don't Know Grit. Good guy, good man, good time. Good.
Detroit basketball.